We are completely full of distractions. There are distractions everywhere, especially now with the way how technology has improved and expanded upon, and with shorts and TikToks and AI, everything being just super instant, always available at the touch of a button. And then to couple that with a general cultural shift more towards positive affirmations, just keep filling yourself with good thoughts and positive energy, and that's going to help you along the way towards a more peaceful life. But if you're watching this video, then you know to some degree that hasn't been working, that there's something within you that's just not going with this plan. And maybe you've tried. I've tried myself. I've always gone towards self-help in the past, when I went through my identity loss and I had to transition from the identity loss into the desert, out the other end, more integrated. But during that time, I tried doing all those things of saying the right things to yourself and not faking it till you making it sort of mentality. And I find, for me anyways, I couldn't get on board with it entirely. My ego can say it, but my soul was just not on board. And so what I found for myself as time went on was that I was missing a sacred element in my routine. I shouldn't even say routine, because this is a very important practice to do, and it should be taken seriously with passion and a divine energy, a desire to connect with divine. And by the way, when I say that, it doesn't need to be labeled with anything. It can be divine. It's just sort of that connection, this sort of relationship that we have with a God, with the universe, with some force that feels outside of ourselves. And by staying only in the upper realm of ego that always just tries to say the right things, we find that we start to split and disconnect from the soul. And then that just creates more discomfort, because what ends up happening is you swing that imbalance really, really high. And as you start saying more positive affirmation, you start saying all these things, sometimes it'll work if it's surface level stuff. But if it's something deep from within, if you're dealing with particular traumas, particular pains and memories and complexes, those will not work, and it's only going to scream at you in the opposite way. And it's going to cause heavy, heavy swings of emotion, heavy swings of fantasy, and anxiety and stress, and you're not knowing what's going on. So today I want to actually pass on to you a way that you can bring into your life a way to do shadow work. This is just the intro level. I have a guide, a 3-step identity rebuilding guide that you can download with the link below. It's not short. It's like 18 pages long, and it gives you a lot of information on this topic of identity work and shadow work and reconnecting with your soul and ego. But I want to give you sort of the start and the bare bones of it, just to get you going. Or in fact, if you've already started, perhaps something I showed today can help refine some of the things you've been doing. Getting started, the first thing you have to do is create a sacred environment for yourself. This could be in your bedroom. This could be in your living room. This could be in your backyard or wherever. It doesn't matter. But what matters is you have made the decision and the agreement that when you enter this space, it is nothing but you, your ego, your soul, and your connection with divine. That is it. No one else is allowed in that environment, not from a rejection standpoint, but a respect standpoint. I want the respect to have this space, and I would appreciate it if, I maintain this border. It's just really important that we have that. And again, don't. I sometimes, if I'm doing my own process and my wife has to come in and do whatever she needs to do, I always have to try to remind myself, it's okay. This is just part of the process. We live together. So again, don't get upset. It's not a huge deal, but if it can be respected, that'd be ideal. Once you create yourself your sacred space, you can sit cross-legged, lay on your back, get comfortable and relaxed in a way that is going to allow you to focus inwardly, concentrate inwardly without force. That's why it's important to be relaxed, knowing that no one's going to come in, because then you want to get into this sort of coupled actions of you are focusing inwardly, but you're also staying relaxed and calm and not really forcing that process. And it's sort of having those two work together. Once you have that sacred space, first you're going to go through a basic breathing sequence. You can do any breathing sequence you want, ideally the one that's just going to slow your heart rate down, slow your mind down. The typical one you're going to be doing is just going deep inhales for 5 seconds, slow exhales for 5 seconds. Just basic, don't overcomplicate it. It's more about the intention of what this breath is supposed to do, which is supposed to bring some peace into your mind temporarily, allow you to focus inwardly, not inwardly up here, but inwardly down below, which I believe the soul tends to inhabit and where we can feel. It's more sort of gut area. Once you get into that space of, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm looking at, it's just my notes. Once you get into that space, now we begin the process. You want to ask yourself a thoughtful, loving, and curious question about a pressing issue that you're having in your life. Perhaps you've been struggling with anger lately. Maybe for the last couple months, you've just been very angry. And you sort of know, but maybe perhaps you've just been too busy with your life and also simultaneously not wanting to deal with it. And so you're not really aware of what's going on, but it can hijack your ego and it can make you go crazy, throw outbursts at people that don't deserve it, or make a bigger situation of something that you know rationally is not really something that needs to be screamed about, but you can't help it. Something is upsetting you deeply. So you ask. And when you ask this question, again, it's always important. I say it in a lot of my videos. You want to be curious, adventurous, calm, compassionate, but maintain a firm hand as you do this. You have to stay on track when you ask this question. When you ask it, you're not just asking it up here. You don't want to just throw the question and have it sit just in your ego. You want to close your eyes and ask that question from the top all the way to the bottom. Focus on that question passing through past your heart down into the soul and let it rest there and concentrate on letting it rest there. And it's the art of trying and not trying simultaneously. I really hope that makes sense. It can sound like a ridiculous paradox, but it really is that way. And one thing I've noticed in my own practice and the people that I mentor and guide in my work, integration is paradox. It's having two opposite forces being met in the center and you being comfortable in that center. So when you allow that to pass through to the bottom of your stomach, let it sit, let it rest. And when you ask it, it's not always going to give you an answer. And if this is the first time you've been doing it, it may not. And if it does, that's fantastic. I'm so happy for you. And if you've been practicing this for a little while, maybe you're on the edge of it. Regardless, you don't want to put a timeline on it. These things just don't work like that. You have to just stay consistent with it. Bring your fullest intention into trying to find that answer and hoping for it. And if not, it's okay. You can always try again tomorrow. But one day, you're going to get the answer. When you ask a question that you want an answer to, let's say we were referencing that anger question, something will come up. An answer will come up. Or maybe it won't even be in words, perhaps. It can be in feeling. You'll feel an answer that you put into words. Or an image will come up that you will decode. But what's really important, this is where things can really go off the rails. When that answer comes up, you have to accept it entirely. And do your absolute best not to let the ego filter and warp and shape it. So that maybe you don't have to deal with what it actually is. Sugarcoating. Diffusing it. You can't warp it at all. Take it for what it is as best you can. And how you know it's the answer? You probably don't want to look at it. And that is probably the answer you're looking for. And so when this answer comes to you, you might feel waves of emotion. It might be something very sensitive. Perhaps it was a revelation that you have been abandoning yourself for the last number of years due to work or due to giving yourself to your family first entirely. And it's just been sitting on you and you haven't paid attention. You feel you've neglected yourself. You've neglected, to some sense, that inner child that you have from within. And you feel frustrated about it and you're feeling angry and you never really pinpointed it, but now you got it. When that emotion starts to come up, allow it to play however it wants to play. If it wants to release in anger, allow it to release in anger. If it wants to release in sadness, allow it to release in sadness. If it wants to come up in excitement, allow it to come up in excitement. Let the emotion do what it wants to do. It needs to speak. Once that speaks and you ride the wave, and again, riding the wave means don't interrupt it. Let it do its thing. Don't allow this part to choke and tighten. You can feel it lock up and prevent that emotion from coming up. You have to practice, allow it to flow. Any restriction, any knot, that's just going to cause more disturbance in the future for you. Once you go through this process, you find that you're on now the downward end of this cycle, this sacred space that you just created, and the sacred event, this divine event that you just had. You don't necessarily have to come to a solution. And that's really important. That's something that I find often people can hurt the progress, is don't force a solution right away, because oftentimes we don't always want to hear a solution right away. And it gets absolutely frustrating when you, especially, for me, I was in an environment where you have to find a solution and answer. And I just got so sick and tired of doing that all the time. Sometimes I just wanted to feel the experience, see the message that I was supposed to be delivered, and to sit with it and let it find its place as time goes on. And that's okay to do. I talk in a lot of my videos, and a lot of my work is about micro to macro, so small changes that lead to big changes. Going from identity loss into the fog, then out the other end, integrated with your ego soul, bridged with your heart, and having that bring peace into your life, clarity into your life, a stronger sense of purpose, perhaps divine purpose if you're called for that. For this to happen, you can't rush this. There's no rushing it. Sometimes you have to apply solutions right away, but sometimes you have to sit back, rest, and wait for your soul to just adjust to it. And that's perfectly okay. It's perfectly fine. And so maybe you want to give a solution. Perhaps you say to yourself, tomorrow I'm going to start doing X, Y, and Z. I'm going to start giving myself slightly more attention. I'm going to give myself some rest periods. Whatever it is, if there's a solution for it, by all means do it. If you don't feel like, no, I don't want a solution right now, and it's not necessarily from here, but it's from here down below that says, I really don't want a solution today. All you have to do then is sit with it and carry that with you. Hold it with you. Don't obsess over it. Don't reject it. Keep it in that beautiful proximity. There's a sweet spot that you want to keep. And shadow work, which is looking at the parts of yourself that we've rejected, denied, disowned. It's the unlived life that we have from within. You want to keep close proximity, and that's what this practice is. It keeps close proximity to that space. Not so much that it possesses you and consumes you, but not completely neglected so that it freezes and it causes numbness, disassociation. You want to make sure you're staying right in that sweet spot, the Goldilocks zone, which will then also give light to the traits that you have that are beautiful and incredible and inspirational to yourself and other people. It's staying in that spot. And if you do this practice consistently every day, not always looking for an answer, often just being in that space with yourself, trying to connect, because understand that if you want to have some form of divine connection, again, I'm not putting a label here, but just a connection to an entity outside yourself. If you want to have that connection, it starts from the inside out. It's from the inside out, and it's buried underneath the images, the stories, the narratives that you do not want to contend with. That's where it lives. And as you unravel, its light will be brighter and brighter. And if this is something you're needing deeper guidance with, deeper help with, if you click the button below, you can download my 3-step identity rebuilding guide. And on top of that will be part of my newsletter where I'm going to give you my insights, reflections, strategies, methods as I continue to expand on them and work on them, because this is a lifelong practice. I am by no means saying I have all solutions right now, nor will I ever say I have all the solutions. But what I can say is that this is something I am born to do. I feel in my heart born to do, to help people navigate through that process, to get to a point where they can actually feel like they are themselves again, whatever that means to you. Not what it means to me. That's why I prefer guidance and mentorship. And I know my website says coach, but that's something that's going to be changing in the future. Coach, to me, and this is me being fully transparent, because I know the people who are watching at this point are only the ones that have watched my channel for quite a little while now. To me, it represents this sort of productivity, this goals and targets, which I do incorporate into my work, but very gently. And it gives off a particular image, a particular look that it doesn't fit with the mission that I have. To me, this is a very deep mission for me. And so I just wanted to kind of share that. Didn't really know where I was going with it, but that's why I film the way I film. So whatever comes up, you see as authentic as possible. Anyways, thank you very much, and I will see you on the next video.